welcome to Later again. The third time?
Third time, I guess, yeah.
What's it like playing Later as a band?
Well, most television shows, there's a host who sits at a desk, and there's a studio audience right in front of you, and there's one stage, and there's one band, and you go up, you play one song, and then you split. You have to weather through a bunch of guests that don't really have much to do about anything. But here it's nice just because it's all music. It's just music. And it's nice that everything's set up in the round, and the opening jam, and, you know. It's a good place to see bands play. It's a nice place to come to see bands that you've never seen live perform 3 or 4 of their best songs. It's great.
Joel's talented too. Must say that. He's in Squeeze. Did you know that?
I did know that.
Yeah.
Are there any bands that you've discovered when you played on the show yourselves?
I'm trying to think of who else we played with when we were here.
Is there any bands that we discovered? Or are you gonna answer?
Last time you were on, Taj Mahal was on, The Lightning Seeds.
Yeah.
Ian Brown from the Stone Roses was on.
Last time we were on, we got to see Ian Brown. I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember watching
Taj Mahal too, yeah.
That was nuts. It was amazing. I'd never seen
him
play.
They had a barbecue here too, didn't they?
Taj is all about the barbecue. I actually wound up talking to Jules about it at the piano, just talking about barbecues and stuff. But I guess Taj travels with barbecue equipment and kind of slow cooks for his whole crew on tour. So it was an honor to meet such a culinary genius. Tonight's a great lineup. I mean, tonight we're playing Coldplay. We love Coldplay. We've seen them play a bunch. Robbie's everywhere we go. We see him all the time. The Dotsons I've never seen play live, but I've heard their records. I think they're great.
The Dotsons are obviously the new breed.
Yeah.
So, is there any of the new breed as the Foo Fighters that you recommend? Anybody that you're...
Well, if there's one band that you should have come on the show, it's this band called My Morning Jacket. They're a great band. I think the dream lineup, you'd have Cave In over here. You'd have My Morning Jacket over there. You'd have some Queens of the Stone Age over there. And then the Zeppelin reunion right here. I think ratings.
And the Foo Fighters wouldn't play? Or they wouldn't
No,
play?
we'd host that one with Jules.
We'd just come in and have beers.
We'd sit at the
everybody.
piano with Jules.
Yeah.
Okay, and talk barbecues.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, who were your musical heroes when you were getting in bands, playing for the first time?
A vast array, really. Everything from like, you know, for
Question
me.
with a question.
Oh, who are my heroes and influences? Lots. For me, it was like a lot of the 70s rock, Queen and Zeppelin and stuff like that. And then it was a lot of new wave too. You know, a lot of Psychedelic Furs and stuff like U2, early U2, first couple of U2 records, and then Rush, and just like totally, you know, not that eclectic, but somewhat, not really. Police, big Police fan.
My biggest heroes and influences were, at first they were sort of punk rock. Well, at first when I was a little kid, it was really Beatles and Rush, and then I discovered Devo and the B-52s, and I thought that was pretty weird out there and amazing. And then I started getting deeper into like American punk rock and hardcore and the local Washington, D.C. music scene that had amazing bands. Bands like Minor Threat or the Bad Brains came from Washington, D.C. and stuff like that. But then I started smoking weed and listening to Zeppelin and a lot of 70s stuff, so, yeah.
How do you feel about sort of the new rock and roll, the sort of Hives and the White Stripes?
I think the new scene of rock bands is great, man. I mean, it's nice to have this return to people that play instruments.
Yeah, it's raw.
Instruments. Hey, they're musicians. Look at that. They're playing instruments, and it's raw.
Yeah, whether I like the tunes or not, I just like the fact that they're, you know, it's raw instrumentation. It doesn't sound computerized. It doesn't, you know, there's not a scratcher in the band.
it's great to see a band like the White Stripes become so popular, even in the
Yeah,
States. I mean, they became really popular in the States, and shit, it's one guitar and some drums, and it's all stripped down, and it just comes down to the song, you know, which is awesome. And the Strokes and the Hives, and there's so much happening with rock bands that makes you feel good about music again. Yeah.
Is it hard to rock on television?
Hard to rock on television?
You know, when there's not a crowd in front of you, or do you just go with the flow and you could be anywhere?
I think playing on TV shows is a little different, just in that it's not hot, it's not sweaty, there's not a huge audience, there's...
It's hot and sweaty back there, man.
Well, you're always hot and sweaty. But no, it's, I mean, getting up and playing your song, you always want to jump around and scream your balls off.
1 in 10, don't wanna be your monkey friend. One more decent accident. I'd rather be than suffer death. I'll never be your monkey friend.
When you, I think the first time you came on Lacey, you did Monkey Wrench.
Yeah.
You performed it right after Radiohead performed Paranoid Android.
That was the
yeah.
coolest. That was the coolest one.
Do you remember?
It wasn't that we
No.
played so great. I remember we really fucked up Everlong. Did something really wrong. But it was pretty awesome to sit there and watch those guys play that right there.
And
mean,
then
you
what was
know.
it like to come off the back of it?
Well,
Do you think about stuff like that, or do you just...
I didn't
Us.
even remember that, actually. But the funniest part about that show, was the opening jam.
Oh, yeah.
Because we sort of whispered to each other, okay, when the camera gets around us, just freak out, just make as much noise as you can. And so they went to the first band, and they're rocking the opening jam, the second band rocking it, and the camera came to us, we just went along, completely freaked out.
Had to do it again.
And they're like, what's up? We had a technical problem. Did it again. They did it like 3 times, and then Katie Lang comes up to us and goes, you know, some of us want to get out of here tonight. This is the only show like this in the whole entire world.
The closest thing that's pretty cool is Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you know, you mix comedy and rock and roll. I think those two things go together pretty well, too.
So do you think
Definitely in our case.
Yeah,
do you think
definitely.
it's better that there are lots of different types of music, or do you think it would be cool just to be on a rock show and everything was rock? Or...
Well, the good thing about a TV show like this is that kids can turn on and discover bands that they otherwise might not have heard. Like, I found out about weird punk rock music the first time I saw the B-52s on Saturday Night Live. My sister was babysitting down the street, and I was hanging out with her, turned on Saturday Night Live, and saw Fred Schneider and the B-52s bouncing around. I thought, oh my God, this isn't normal music. This is weird, and I love it. And that's what turned me on to this whole other world of music. And with a show like this, it's just, you know, it's inevitable. Some kid's gonna kind of turn on one night and hear the Dotsons or hear something that they don't hear on the radio every day.
Or hear Robbie Williams.
Yeah.
Which is
discover this
which
whole
is really
new world of
rare
music.
around here. You don't hear a lot of Robbie Williams
No.
around here.
It's nice to discover something rather than have it forced down your throat.
What ambitions do the Foo Fighters have?
Ambitions? I think our greatest ambition is vacation.
Just right now?
That's my goal in life.
And after vacation?
No, just in life in general.